We finally made it through the 4-episode Sakuga Fest that is the Evil Eye arc, and now it's time for the post-battle dinner, something that is becoming a key part of any DANDADAN arc. The last time we got one of these was when Ira had joined the team in Season 1, and now in addition to Gigi, we see Mr. Mantis Shrimp and his son, Chiquitita, along with Manjaro. And of course, Taro and Hana are there as well, making eyes at each other from across the table. One of the best things about this dinner, in addition to being the wrap-up where we get to see everybody happy and content, is that we get a lot of fun character interactions we might not have had during the arc itself. Obviously, the biggest one here is that Ira is actually present, even though she missed out on everything going on in the volcano town. And Ira's focus is on one thing and one thing only, and it's the right thing. Chiquitita is adorable, and she cannot get over it. From watching the beginning ritual, through the dinner that they're all having together, and of course to saying goodbyes, her focus is on playing with this cute little mantis shrimp boy, and frankly, she's the only one who's right. It's nice, of course, to see Taro struggling with his duty of containing Gigi and the Evil Eye, while all he wants to do is have a moment alone with Hana, and of course, seeing Gigi and Okarun getting along together. It's all well and good. Turbo Granny's got her head face down in the hot pot, and it's all enjoyable. The frenetic pace and energy of DANDADAN's writing, which anybody who's read the manga knows, means there's a lot going on in the background behind the main conversation happening. And so you could rewatch the opening parts of this episode again, just focusing on Ira and Chiki, and there's a lot happening that you might have missed because of the forefront conversations. As we've seen in Season 1, Ira is a girl of extremes. She either loves you or she hates you, and she loves Chiki. And frankly, given his adorable charms as he's sipping on milk and enjoying playing games like Airplane with her or running around the yard, frankly, I don't know why anyone else is even bothering to eat food. It's also worth talking about the outfits, which many of you have probably noticed are sometimes the coolest strip you've ever seen and sometimes purely goofy. Previously, we saw Momo wearing a shirt that highlighted her love for Crab, and here we see her in an Odin Life hoodie. I don't know how much of her closet is made up of Gyaru fashion and how much is food outfits, but I'm guessing it's probably 50-50. And while Momo is clearly enjoying the food in front of her, Taro cannot love what is in front of him, which is Hana across the table. You know, he's doing his job, despite how much he doesn't want to, of containing Gigi, but he just wants some alone time with Hana, and Seiko says no. Which is probably for the best because that would put Gigi in some weird kind of third wheel situation that I've frankly never seen before, and I think we all agree we don't want to see in the show. Sorry, Taro, you're just gonna have to wait a little bit longer. We also get to find out that Mr. Mantis Shrimp, whose name is Peeny Weenie, yes, that is correct, Peeny Weenie, actually has a job. He's managed to find a farm nearby where he can work to get the milk that his young boy needs, and so they jump in their spaceship, powering up in some incredibly epic scene that makes it look like they're going to dash across the galaxy, only to go about 5 houses down the street. I guess when that's the only vehicle you've got, your commute is going to be a little inefficient. On the way to the hospital, we get a scene that manga readers have been waiting for since the Season 2 announcement. It's actually such a popular scene that one of the very first pieces of official DANDADAN merch that you could buy in the US was a shirt of that scene, which I'm wearing right now, and that is the hand-holding scene in the back of the car. Manga readers have been waiting a long time for this moment, and it's so great to see it in animation, not just because of the incredible voice acting of both the English and Japanese cast, and yes, of course, I watched it both. The way they capture the longing in their voices is they're both trying to tease out from the other why they're touching hands and if it might mean something, but also the choices of the animation team. And especially, I want to highlight the fact that the tunnel turns red as they drive through and start to touch hands. And that is a callback to what brought them together, Turbo Granny's tunnel. Unfortunately, it was a curse that they were trying to solve for Okarun, but because he has powers and Momo's psychic abilities awakened, they're now going on all these adventures and having the opportunity to grow closer. Do we know for sure that was what it was hinting at? No, but we know that's why it happened. It was a beautiful callback, and the look on their faces and the soft music as they're talking is beautiful, even though Gigi, of course, had to interrupt it. We are actually moving fast for an anime rom-com. This is only 17 episodes. And so even though DANDADAN clearly likes to give us beautiful, heartwarming moments and then often break them up with humor, we're making good progress. They're holding hands. Some manga take 400 chapters for that to happen, and then the characters deny that it even occurred. Momo and Okarun don't say anything to deny that it happened. They just, are gonna have to wait a little bit for another opportunity for something else. We get to see Gigi reuniting with his parents, a beautiful, heart-wrenching scene spoiled a little bit by the fact that Taro cannot control his body very well when his head is not on top of it, and so he's unable to embrace Gigi's parents. And of course the moment is broken with that great T-pose because he's an anatomical model and he only knows a couple major motions, and this is one of them. The next day we see the kids heading to school, and Okarun and Momo run into Momo's good friends, Muko and Mi, who have made another appearance. And it's cute to see how much they enjoy including Okarun in their little group. They've definitely embraced him and whatever is going on with him and Momo, and they clearly are cheerleading from the sidelines as their girl tries to figure out what's going on. But it's also really cute to see Muko embracing Okarun from behind for a particularly interesting reason. She's actually voiced by Anaris Quinones, who is an English voice actor, and her partner in real life is AJ Beckles, who voices Okarun. We don't know if this is intentional. This manga chapter had already come out by the time that, they were thinking about the anime and actually casting voice actors, so it's possible they planned this as a fun little Easter egg, but whether or not it's intentional, it's really fun to see scenes like this where Muko is getting along with Okarun, knowing who the English voices are behind the scenes. They also let Momo know that despite the craziness of that volcano situation, and of course all the fires and the giant worm, there were 0 deaths, which is incredible. And they even have a shot that seems to show Mr. Mantis Shrimp's, Peeny Weenie's spaceship hovering above the volcano, although it doesn't show how the fires were put out, which was thanks to Chiquitita and his
shooting star with a big worm corpse, using it like a hose. Daddy, am I doing this okay?
If you haven't heard that song recently, go back and play it again. And then finally, we get a scene that manga readers have probably been waiting for since the first episode. We learn why the Kito family matriarch has been living for so long. It's highly likely that if you're an anime only, you kind of forgot about the fact they mentioned she's been around for over 200 years because there were so many crazy things happening, but she's been around for over 200 years, and that is not the average human lifespan, even if you live in a blue zone. Note, she is a subterranean. That's right. Not mole people, but some form of underground creature, another cryptid that Okarun would be very excited to find out he existed if he'll ever find out, and she has declared Momo Ayase her enemy. I wonder if that's going to come up in the future. We don't know for sure, of course, but we have seen that Tatsu-sensei does love to plant items and characters that might appear later on in the series. And something tells me she is not going to let that grudge go. Once the kids get to school, we find out that Ira's manipulations from season 1 have made the rest of her classmates a little awkward around her for unfortunately good reasons. She's reaping what she's sowing here, but at least she did the right thing. And we see it kind of rewarded as Momo and Okarun turn up to grab her and drag her to lunch despite her protestations. While Momo and Ira clearly clash heads over a lot of things, they do seem to recognize when the other one is truly down, and I like to think there's some form of friendship growing in between all of the sparring that they're doing. Despite the Okarun-shaped love triangle that they've found themselves in, the two do seem more similar than they would like to admit. And so when Momo invites them both to a team sleepover, we know why Okarun says yes, but Ira's also really quick to agree. And aside from maybe some time with her beloved Ken, it seems like maybe she's a bit more eager to spend time with Momo than she's willing to admit. That said, watching Ira quickly shift the way she speaks between Momo and Okarun, or between Chiquitita and his dad, is really funny, so hopefully they don't become complete besties just yet. So Ira and Okarun have moved into the house, and now we're introduced to the newest, most important mystery of DANDADAN Season 2. Who stole Turbo Granny's fluffy cushion? Where is it, Momo? Where is it? Will the cushion ever be found? We're gonna have to wait to find out because it's time for a Monjiaki party with the main team. And it's really cool to see more of the interactions between them, especially Momo and Ira. They're now talking about makeup and bonding over it a little bit. And even when we cut to Gigi and Okarun having their own conversation about playing video games, we can hear them in the background. Here's actually a time where I think that the Japanese did a better job. The audio mixing makes it easier to hear their voices, and of course with subtitles on the screen you can catch the second round of dialogue between Ira and Momo. I guess if you watch in the English dub, you can very, very briefly hear it, and if you turn on the subs you'll be able to tell what was said. But this is a moment where I think the Japanese did a slightly better job with it. And what are we going to end on? A blatant Ranma 1/2 reference, as we see Seiko ask Okarun for the sauce, and we get the slow cut of him moving it and a drop falling, and I'm sure we all had the thought of, oh no, that cold liquid is about to land on his hand, and it doesn't. And then we go back for the other sauce, and that's when it happens, and the episode ends with an explosive bang as Evil Eye blows out the windows of the house. And with that, we're into episode 18, which picks up right where that left off. All of the teens using their powers to restrain him, splash some water on him, and turn him back to normal. But clearly the house is not looking great, and we need to commit that exorcism. But Seiko's been waiting for this Hayashi band, which is a group of traditional musical performers. And instead, what she gets is a band named Hayashi. In a normal anime, oh no, we messed up. In DANDADAN, she's like, let's roll with it, and we're gonna use them instead. And this band looks so cool. I've been waiting for these guys to show up. I feel like I'm saying this every single episode. A new character appears, but best character has appeared, and best character is 4 people, the band Hayashi, a visual K appearance hair metal band, and another opportunity to watch in both Japanese and English to hear the differences because we're getting actual music in the show. The kids look skeptical at first, especially Ira in her surprisingly modest sleepwear, and Seiko, who had her hair down before the ritual started, a rare glimpse that we may not see again for a while. And Tatsu and Science Saru clearly knew what they were teasing here because she mostly has her back turned during that moment. Anyway, the band gets set up, and everybody's wondering, is this really gonna work? But the second they yell, "Are you ready?" Momo and Okarun are like, yeah! Admittedly, I don't watch a lot of musical anime, but I catch a few, so I have to say, this performance kicks ass. I was so excited the second the music hit, and all the lights pop up, and the chords progress, and then of course we cut to the graveyard, and we see that the souls are actually moving up out of it. Luckily, as Seiko said, these folks have no spiritual awareness, so they're not going to be bothered. But it's almost unfortunate because they can't see the hundreds and thousands of souls rocking out to their performance. And admittedly, I was one of them. As we cut to Ira, Momo, and Okarun headbanging, and Seiko headbanging as she's committing the ritual, I was watching alone in my apartment, and I had the devil horns up rocking out. I was so excited. I'll say, I think the Japanese performance is a little bit better in this case. Not to say anything about the English, which is also really good, but I'm not familiar with who voiced the Japanese ones, but if you told me that was a real band, I would 100% believe it, or at least a real singer, I suppose. The band is real in both cases. It's unfortunate knowing that they're performing this song just for a ritual, because I would love if the entire episode was just the teens at their personal concert. And, you know, maybe we'll get something like that in the future. I think the team at Science Saru, whoever's on the production committee, needs to make sure to release both versions of this song, because Hunting Soul, which is the title, is going into my gym rotation the second it becomes available. It got me so pumped up, and we're only in the first half of the episode. Of course, as all this rocking on is going on, Gigi is realizing that he doesn't actually want Evil Eye exercised. The boy's too earnest, and he made a promise to the Evil Eye that he was going to help him, and that's what he's going to do. And who is going to help Gigi with that? His new best bro, Okarun, who's willing to throw down and say, I will train, I will get stronger, I will help him contain the power and do what he needs to do because he made a promise, and I'm going to support my boy in keeping that promise. And then Momo agrees, and then Ira starts fighting with her, and they're chest bumping, but in anger, which is never a way I've seen chest bumping do. Usually it's a bro move, but I love the way the girls are doing this in their sleepwear. As per usual, this heartwarming moment between all the teens is interrupted by Gigi getting a drop of water on him, turning into Evil Eye, and knocking Okarun face first into the house, causing even more damage. I'm pretty sure whatever insurance policy Seiko has, it isn't going to cover that. And they have to cover the whole house in cardboard. I don't know how they did it this fast or where they got the hundreds of boxes clearly needed to hold up this damage, but we get some slower moments between the teens, particularly Okarun and Gigi, trying to stay warm in the house and keep an eye on him so that he doesn't accidentally break out the Evil Eye again, and talking a little about what they're willing to do for each other, including that nice flashback of Okarun when he tried to pay Seiko back, and she told him she didn't want the money, she just wanted him to pay it forward. We mostly see Seiko as this really goofy supposed grandmother character who seems like she could be in her 20s, watching goofy shows and picking on her granddaughter and not being serious, but it's clear from seeing moments like this how she ended up becoming a priest. You know, she does actually care about helping others despite what she's saying and grumbling about as she's doing it. We also get to see more of the girls. We learn that Ira snores like a bear, Momo sleeps like a starfish. We get to see Ira's morning routine and how much effort she puts into her appearance, which is kind of nice to see. And then her and Momo talking a bit more during breakfast, where they're immediately making fun of each other and even pretending that they weren't helping each other in the prior episode where Momo is getting yelled at for using Ira's makeup, even though she clearly let her. And as we move into the end of the episode, we cut to the school where Momo's talking with her friends about getting a part-time job so that she can help to repair the house, showing that she's choosing to do this, wanting to help her grandmother out, and also probably cover the damage of her friend. You know, she's a good person at heart, just like her grandmother, and we start to see a little bit more of the relation between the two. So she has somebody else in the class who apparently can point her to a place to work, but where is it? You know, in another show, we'd have to wait for another episode to find out, but this is DANDADAN. We pack way too much into a chapter, or in this case, to the back half of an episode. And so Muko and me immediately go to grab Okarun to take him out for tea, and he does not want to go. He is grabbing onto doorways, grabbing onto street poles, trying to jump off of the train. They are forcing him across the street, and I know I keep saying I want more of X, I want more of Y. I wish we had 24 episodes of the show. I wouldn't say no to a whole episode of the two of them dragging Okarun around the town. Maybe to go hang out with Momo, but just taking him to do things that he's reluctant to do and expanding his social circle. Because prior to this, he didn't have any friends, but Momo did, and it's beautiful to see that they also seem to like hanging out with him, even if it is ultimately to troll Momo, which it definitely is, because she's working at a maid cafe, and they've dragged Okarun so the three of them can be some of her first customers at her first day of work in what will undeniably be an entertaining and exasperating for Momo experience in the next episode of DANDADAN. We're only 6 episodes through this second season. There's another 6 to go. I'm not spoiling anything as a manga reader, but as per usual, manga readers know that it just gets crazier and crazier. I was really looking forward to a lot of the things we got in these past 2 episodes, mostly the hand-holding and the hair metal, but lots of other things. And there's a lot of stuff in the next 6 episodes I'm looking forward to as well. So please stay tuned. I'm going to keep doing more of these. And if you're enjoying these episode breakdowns, I'm going to try to go back to doing one each week. Let me know in the comments. Give a like or a subscribe, but especially let me know in the comments what you're thinking of these episodes. What's resonating with you? What are you hoping to see in the future? Can you predict anything? No manga readers, just anime only. Do you think you can even try to guess at what we might see? Yokai and aliens that might appear, or weird types of characters, things you might expect to happen in the maid cafe. Let me know. See you in the next one.